I'm delighted to welcome Julian Assange's former PR representative, Richard Hillgrove. Richard, thank you very much for joining us today. So I want to ask you about this. Now, a lot of people here are torn, I think, about the case of Julian Assange. Firstly, let's just discuss what precisely is it that he is accused of doing?
Well, it's releasing, data that put people's lives in danger, but they're getting him on the Espionage Act, which is something which is rather frightening for any journalist in the world, because, he should have the right to publish whatever he likes as a journalist, and to be extradited, it's completely wrong.
Now, this is the key question, isn't it? Because these documents were leaked to him, and then he presented them on his website. So if the espionage charge is going to hold, then surely it should be to the person who did the leaking and not the person who reported on the leaking.
Well, correctly, and that's why it's just like a vicious circle that you can't change. And this has paralysed all journalists worldwide watching this case. If Julian Assange goes down, what happens to the world of journalism and, breaking stories?
Well, what do you make?
Chilling effect.
What do you make of the counter-argument then? When people say, there are these intelligence operatives whose lives were put at risk because all of this was, it wasn't editorialised. The material was simply dumped onto the website.
Well, without going down a complete rabbit hole, all the information was redacted, and he did everything he could. The New York Times and The Guardian published it in front of WikiLeaks, the same information. Yet, why is this chap being singled out for this special treatment?
Why do you think that could be?
I think those in power want to make an example of someone. I think that's a very disruptive narrative, taking someone like Julian Assange and having this prolonged case for 10 years, and will he or won't he, and the whole thing is just a virtuous circle, and it's a hall of mirrors as well. You can't prove whether he was... He says he didn't do it, and there's no proof otherwise. Simple.
But there's some people who've suspected or voiced a suspicion that this is almost like a personal vendetta. I mean, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks did publish those emails from Hillary Clinton's computer, and that kind of thing, which means that there are plenty of people in Washington who might experience a certain degree of schadenfreude if he goes down.
I think the thing about Julian Assange, his psychology is that he's completely non-partisan. So he has no particular friends. So he's leaked against Russia, he's leaked against America, and he's been very much used by different people. So he's in a situation where who can he call as his friend? And where are all the people, all the champagne socialists that came to see him in the Ecuadorian embassy, like Lady Gaga, who came in, had a poke around, all these people, where are they now? But Julian Assange is a human being and has a right to publish, like any journalist has a right to publish. And I think this sends a chilling effect to the entire planet.
So your argument is effectively that all of these other journalists are going to be looking and thinking, can I do anything anymore? Can I report? Because if I leak some information that is deemed unpalatable to the powers that be, they might come after me?
Well, clearly, and that's why even people, even media organisations like The Guardian, they absolutely hate Julian Assange. He polarises people, and a lot of people can't stand the man, but they still say he must not be extradited.
Do you think that there is any chance of him having a fair trial? I mean, we've heard the head of the CIA, former head of the CIA, Mike Pompeo, talking about how he's, well, I can't remember the exact quotation, but he was pretty much saying he's guilty, right? So hasn't this trial been prejudiced pretty deeply?
I think there's a lot of danger, and I said something on GBNews last week where the situation was... I'm getting a very vocal audience out there.
Oh, sorry.
You had a situation where there's a case right now, and Mike Pompeo, the former head of CIA, has been called for an act of attempt of assassination of Assange while he's in the Ecuadorian embassy. So, and there's a whole lot of foreshadowing going on with this suicide risk. 300 doctors have just written saying he's a suicide risk, his mental health is...
Right.
So either way you look at it, his life's in danger.
Yes.
Is he that safe on American soil? I don't think so.
Why do you think Priti Patel has made this decision, then?
I personally think it's quite a personal judgment. I mean, Gary McKinnon never went. Theresa May, when she was Home Secretary, decided against. And I'd say that Julian Assange should be in the same category. He's certainly in the same type of psychology.
So you think this is going to be, whichever way this goes, this will be a landmark case when it comes for freedom of the press and free speech more generally?
Absolutely, but it's obviously not over yet. There's other, there's the idea of an annulment, because the UK government have now admitted to putting surveillance on the lawyers for Julian Assange. That could null and void the entire case. European Court of Human Rights is another avenue. like Rwanda. So it's not over yet.
OK. Well, Richard Hillgrove, thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.